Mandar Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashita Shimar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj the Gurudev ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashita Shimar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashita Shimar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashita Shimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashita Shimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa No Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rāya Rāmānanda Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradatta Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Sarveshwari Mataji, Shri Devi Didi, Ashray Prabhu, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Manjulali Didi, and Rukmini Didi. Harivo. Dandavat Pranams. Alright, so my internet is very not stable. I'm getting an upload right now of not even 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte per second. Yeah, I'll show you. This is my internet speed right now. So I'm not sure if this is going to work out. Let's try again. Anyhow, the internet was kind of working, and so I thought might as well not break the long streak we have. But I kind of just decided to go live like 10 minutes ago. So I don't have anything planned out. But what I thought is maybe we could, tomorrow is going to be Śrī Rāya Rāmānanda's disappearance day, and it's also Krishna Panchami, which is our day to read from Rays of the Harmonist. And so I'm not sure if you're on the Rays of the Harmonist Ishtagoshti group mailing list, but if you are, you would have received just now, like 3 minutes ago, you would have received an EPUB that I made. And tomorrow's session is going to be a bit different than normal, because we are going to be reading 3 articles instead of 1. And so there won't be time for discussion. I'm just going to read through, because I thought it'd be nice to read Srila Prabhupada's articles on, he wrote 3 articles, a series called Karunaya Avatirna Kalo, the most compassionate avatar of Kali Yuga. And so he wrote that for Gaudiya Patrika. So I don't know what years, but very long time ago, way before he went to the West. And it's on the topic of Rāya Rāmānanda Sambad. I think like the beginning of Rāya Rāmānanda Sambad. So I thought that would be appropriate for our Rays of the Harmonist Ishtagoshti program. But it's 8,000 words altogether. So, all right. So yeah. So sorry. I slept like less than 4 hours last night because I was doing stuff on my computer. Yeah. But sorry guys, I'm talking way too much. So yeah, what I was saying is we probably won't get much time to read about Rāya Rāmānanda, except for those articles, but not so much about, other things. So I thought today maybe we can go through Sri Caitanya and His Associates by Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj on the glories of Raya Rāmānanda. We can look up on purebhakti.com, on maybe on vcvani.com, Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani website. And if anybody has any other suggestions of anything that we should read, let me know. And if the internet connection is just way too unstable and it's like, yeah, difficult, just let me know, and yeah, we can read tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Mai Didi, Archana Didi, and Hari Hari Prabhu, and Bhavatarani Mataji. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's begin. Yeah, I'm a bit spacey right now. So, where is I looked the update. It hadn't reached Kolkata yet. How come it's so zoomed out? Anyways, the internet's going a bit slow. I can't. Doesn't matter. It seems like it's right there.
Going 60 miles per hour.
It's going 60 miles per hour.
16
Oh, 16.
kilometers per hour.
Oh, that's not that fast.
About 10 miles an hour.
Okay, it's about 10 miles per hour. That's not so bad then. All right.
The wind's close to the epicenter. The winds are up to 135 kilometers an hour.
Oh, the winds are 135 kilometers per hour
At the epicenter.
at the epicenter. Interesting.
Highest.
Okay, so Rai Ramananda. I'm a bit slow right now. Let me just type in Rai Ramananda, then that will come up faster. Rai. Let's type in Rai. Where's Rai Ramananda? Did I skip it again? There it is. It's number 57. Okay. Alright. So, Jai Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Mahārāj ki Jai. Okay. Priya Narmal Sakha Kaschid Arjuna Pandavorjuna Militva Samabhur Ramananda Raya Prabho Priya Atto Radha Krishna Bhakti Prema Tattvadikam Kriti Ramanando Gorachandram Pratyavarnayaran Vaham Lalite Tyahure Keyat Tare Ke Nanumanyante Bhavanandang Pratipraha Goro Yat Tvam Pritapati Kopyarjuniyaya Sardha Kopyarjuniyaya Sardhama Eki Bhuyapi Pandava Arjuno Yad Raya Ramananda Ityahuruttama Arjuniya Bhavaturnam Arjuno Picha Pandava Iti Parmottara Khande Vyaktam Eva Virajate Tasmare Tatrayam Ramananda Raya Mahashaya. So this is from Gaur Ganodashtipika verses 120 to 124. Oh, and Archana Didi is asking if we can sing Kalayati Nayanam. Yes, totally. I don't have a mridanga, but if you don't mind without a mridanga, yeah. Okay, so there are two Arjuna and Krishna Lila. One is a Priyanama Sakha and Raj. The other is one of the Pandavas. These two combined to become Mahaprabhu's dear companion, Ramananda Rai. Very interesting, huh? Arjuna and Krishna, like on the Pandava Arjuna and the Priyanarmasaka Arjuna of Raj, combined together to become Mahaprabhu's dear companion Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai was very knowledgeable in the teachings of loving devotion to Radha and Krishna, which he described to Gaurachandra on a daily basis. Some people say that Ramananda Rai was Lalita Saki, while others do not. Usually we hear him as Vishaka Saki, isn't it? Mahaprabhu himself told Bhavananda Rai that he was Pandu, the husband of Kunti and father of the Pandavas. Bhavananda Rai is Ramananda Rai's father. Parma Puran states that the Pandava Arjuna became the Gopi Arjuniya. Thus, the most aware say that in Ramananda Rai, all these three personalities combined. Gaur Ganodashtipika, 120 to 124. That's why, when people get in all these arguments about what Ras Srila Prabhupada is in and everything, I mean, I definitely am of the opinion that he's in Madhuras, that Srila Prabhupada. But at the same time, I'm not going to rule out that he's not in Sakyaras. Look at Ramananda Rai. He's Arjuna in Krishna Lila, like the Priya Narmasaka, the Vraj, the Pandava Arjuna, and then Lalita Saki, but then we're used to hearing him as Vishaka. And so it's not so simple who these personalities are. It's not like we try to make it so like simplistic and like, no, it's like this or it's like that, but these topics are so beyond us and so subtle and like that. So anyhow, okay. As stated in these verses from Gaur Ganodashtipika, some people hold that Ramananda Rai was an avatar of Lalita. Some others are of the opinion that he was Vishaka. In his commentary on Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 8 verse 23, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, "The love that awakened in Ramananda and Mahaprabhu when they met was the same as the love that Vishaka had for Radha and Krishna in Vraj, and that which Radha and Krishna had for Vishaka. Thus, it is clear that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw Ramananda Rai as Vishaka. Ramananda Rai was one of the Lord's 3.5 most intimate associates. The Lord accepted that," and then this is a quote from Caitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila chapter 2, verses 105 to 106. It says, "The Lord accepted that Shiki Mahiri's sister was one of Radha's friends. In the entire world, there were only 3.5 devotees who were as worthy. They were Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Rai, and Shiki Mahiri. Shiki Mahiri's sister was the half person." Yeah, because she wasn't always, because it's inappropriate for a lady to be with a sannyasi in certain settings like that, and so she wasn't able to, so that's why she was the half person, because she wasn't always able to get as close to Mahaprabhu. I mean, that's my understanding. I could be, yeah. If I was wrong, though, please correct me. Okay, Ramananda's social status. Ramananda Rai's father was named Bhavananda Rai. He was born in a family of the Orishan Karana caste. Bhavananda Rai was previously King Pandu. He had 5 sons, of whom Ramananda Rai was the eldest. The other 4 brothers were Gopinath Patanayak, Kalanidhi, Sudhanidhi, and Vaninath Patanayak. The Lord states in Caitanya Charitamrita, "You are Pandu himself, and your wife is Kunti. Your 5 sons are the 5 Pandavas." That's Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 10, verse 53. Manohar Rai, a descendant of Ramananda Rai, has written his family's history. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has summarized some details of this account in his Anubhashya. He says, Orishan society considers the Karana community to be part of the Shudra caste. Ramananda Rai was born into this community. Nevertheless, though he was considered by society to be a Shudra by birth, he was a de facto Brahman. Indeed, as a Vaishnava Paramahamsa, he was a spiritual master to the Brahmanas. By Krishna's will, the creator Brahma himself appeared in an outcast family as Haridas Thakur in order to show that one's family and one's race have absolutely no importance. Born as a Muslim, Haridas Thakur only enriched Lord Gauranga's pastimes. Now here's a quote from Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda, chapter 16. It says, Haridas Thakur was born in a low caste family on the Lord's desire in order to show that caste and class have no importance at all. All the scriptures say that a devotee of Vishnu, though born in a lowly family, is still worshipable by all. What will one's caste do for one born in a high caste who does not worship Krishna? He will go to hell in spite of his high birth. Haridas Thakur took a low birth just to bear witness to these scriptural statements. A Vaishnava is beyond the qualities of the material nature. Anyone who considers a devotee in terms of his birth or race is destined for a hellish existence. And we see this quote all the time. Arche Vishnu Shiladhir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Buddhir Vishnurva Vaishnavanam Kalimala Matane Padatirtem Bubuddhi Shri Vishnur Namni Mantri Sakala Kalusha He Shabda Samanya Buddhir Vishnu Sarveshwareshe Taritara Samadir Yasya Narakisa. Anyone who considers the deity of Vishnu to be nothing but stone, the Guru to be an ordinary human being, or the Vaishnav to be a member of a particular caste or race, who takes the holy water which has washed Vishnu or the Vaishnav's feet and can destroy all the sins of the age of Kali to be ordinary water, who thinks that the name or mantra of Vishnu, which destroys all evils, is the same as any other sound, or who takes Vishnu to be the same as anything other than him, suffers hellish existence. It's from the Padma Puran. Bhavananda Rai made his home in Brahmagiri, or Alarnath, about 12 miles west of Puri. Rai Rāmānanda was King Prataparudra's governor in Vidyanagar, and according to some opinions, he was one of his ministers. Wind's picking up. According to the Bhajan Nirnay, Ramananda Rai was a disciple of Raghavendra Puri and grand disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Interesting, I never heard that before. Can you hear that in the background? Sorry, Sarveshwaryanth, were you saying something? You're muted. Oh, no, you weren't. Okay, sorry. Okay. Sarvabhauma tells the Lord about Ramananda. The Lord took sannyas in the month of Magh and arrived in Puri during the month of Falgun. Sorry, Sajan Marj is talking in the background. It's distracting me. 1 second. Let me just turn on noise suppression. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that's not... All right. So the Lord took sannyas in the month of Magh and arrived in Puri during the month of Falgun after celebrating the Dol Yatra in Puri. Sorry. Because I'm getting distracted by that. I'm just going to put on headphones and then I won't hear. The talking is distracting me. Okay. I think that will... Let me just turn on some sounds to block out the talking. Sorry, guys. There. Okay. Sorry, guys. Can you hear that? I just making sure. Okay, looks like it. Okay, I think it's all good now. Okay, Sarvabhauma tells the Lord about Ramananda. The Lord took sannyas in the month of Magh and arrived in Puri during the month of Falgun. After celebrating the Dol Yatra in Puri, Mahaprabhu delivered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in the month of Chaitra. In the month of Vaishak, he set off on his pilgrimage to South India. Though Mahaprabhu had decided to travel alone, Nityananda Prabhu convinced him to take a servant, Krishnadas, as a traveling companion. As he was leaving, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave the Lord 4 kopans and a bahirvas, and requested him to visit Ramananda Rai on the banks of the Godavari. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "My lord, you must fulfill this request of mine. In the town of Vidyanagar, on the bank of the Godavari, there is a responsible government officer named Ramananda Rai. Please do not neglect him, thinking he belongs to a Shudra family engaged in materialistic activities. Please take my word for it, that you should meet him without fail. If anyone is fit to associate with you, it is he. No other devotee can compare with him in the knowledge of the divine sentiments. He has attained the highest limits of learning and is experienced in the science of devotional sentiments. If you converse with him, you will recognize his exalted character. When I first met him, I could not understand that everything he said and did was transcendental. I made fun of him simply because he was a Vaishnav. By your mercy, I can now understand the truth about Ramananda Rai. In talking with him, you also will acknowledge his greatness." That's from Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 7. This is not loud enough. I can still hear the talking, so I'm just going to change the noise. I have this nature thing I use. It's called, yeah, do thunderstorm. That sounds good. Okay. Okay, that's perfect. Now I can't hear the talking behind me. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada has commented as follows for this verse 63 in this chapter 7 of Madhya Lila. He says, "To superficial understanding, Ramananda Rai was not a sannyasi wearing a loincloth. In common understanding, those who are courtiers engaged in government service are materialistic. But Ramananda Rai was in fact a learned person who was a de facto sannyasi, a perfected human being. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had previously been able to recognize his natural qualities as a Vaishnava, even though he himself was not a Vaishnava at that time. I just noticed Anadi Krishnaru's comment. He says that tomorrow is the appearance day of Caitanya Charitamrita. Very interesting. I want to know more about that afterwards. That's great. Amazing. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was previously able to recognize natural qualities of Vaishnava, even though he's not a Vaishnava at the time. When he took to devotional service by the grace of the Lord, he reconsidered his opinion of Ramananda and realized the extent of his qualifications, calling him an adhikari rasik bhakta, the most highly qualified authority in the matters of devotional sentiment. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the avatar of Brihaspati and the court pundit of King Prataparudra. He was so learned that even though a householder, he had sannyasis as his disciples. Nevertheless, he had been unable to recognize that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Lord himself, nor was he able to identify Ramananda Rai as his most intimate associate. If he was unable to do so, then how much more difficult it would be for others. No one is able to understand the glories of the Lord and his devotees without being blessed by their mercy." And here is a quote from Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 6. It says, "The process of inference is of no value for understanding the nature of the Supreme Lord. Without the Lord's mercy, no person can come to know him. One to whom the Lord gives even a slight drop of mercy is able to understand his nature. Mahaprabhu meets Rāmānanda. Mahaprabhu set off to the south, blessing the inhabitants of the lands by bestowing devotion to Krishna on them. He visited Kurmastan, delivering the Brahman also named Kurma, and giving everyone the order to preach devotional service to Krishna. He saved Vasudeva Vipra and then went on to Singhachalan, where he danced before the deity of Jiyar Nrsimha. Then he went on to the Godavari River, which in his vision was the Yamuna, and the woods on its banks, Vrindavan. He joyfully crossed the river and came to the place known as Kovur, where he bathed in the river and waited there, hoping to meet Rāmānanda Rai. At the same time, Rāmānanda Rai passed by with fanfare. When he saw Mahaprabhu's supernatural form, he descended from his palanquin and paid his obeisances to the Lord. Though Mahaprabhu recognized him, he asked him to identify himself. Rāmānanda Rai replied that he was nothing but a lowly Shudra servant. When the Lord heard him speak in this humble manner, he immediately embraced him. Both the Lord and his servant felt the onset of divine emotions, and both experienced the 8 ecstatic transformations of prem. The Brahmins who were accompanying Rāmānanda Rai were astonished to see such a display. They thought, this sannyasi is as effulgent as the Brahman. Why is he crying while embracing the Shudra? The governor, Rāmānanda Rai, is a scholar and normally very serious. Why has he suddenly become so emotional upon being touched by the sannyasi, as though intoxicated? This is what all the Brahmins thought when they saw Mahaprabhu embrace Rāmānanda. That's from chapter 8 of Madhya Lila. Seeing that there were outsiders present, the Lord controlled his emotions and told Rāmānanda Rai that he had been told by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to seek him out. Rāmānanda Rai replied with humility, this is the proof of your mercy on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You have touched me, an untouchable, subdued by his love for you. What a difference exists between us. You are the Supreme Lord, Narayan himself, and I, a government servant interested in materialistic activities. Indeed, I am the lowest among men of the 4th caste. Even so, you are not contemptuous of my touch. Neither did you fear the Vedic injunctions which forbid one to even look upon a Shudra. Your mercy makes you touch me, even though this activity is condemned by both by scripture and by society. You are the Supreme Lord himself. So who can understand your intention? Haribol Champak Mataji. Okay, so that's from Caitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8, verses 34 to 37. Though the Brahmins had never shown the slightest interest in bhakti, they too were influenced by the sight of the Lord and began to chant the names of Krishna, their voices tremulous with divine ecstasy. Never seen the word tremulous before. That means shaking or quivering slightly. Rāmānanda Rai said aloud that Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Lord, both in Akriti, in form, and in Prakriti, in nature. The Lord immediately responded in a way that would show the greatness of his devotee. The Lord said, you are a great devotee. Indeed, you are the best amongst them. All those who behold you are immediately affected, so that their hearts melt. What to speak of others? I am a Mayavadi sannyasi, yet I feel the onset of Krishna Prem when I touch you. That's Caitanya Charitamrita, same chapter, verses 44 to 45. The Lord listens to Ramananda speak. When Mahaprabhu told him of his desire to hear Krishna Katha from his lips, Ramananda Rai requested that he may stay for a week or longer so that his own wicked mind could be pacified and purified. The two then each went their way to finish their duties, returning to the same spot in the evening. Ordinarily, it is seen that a devotee asks the questions and the Lord answers. This time, however, the roles were reversed, and the Lord asked Ramananda to clarify certain spiritual truths and then empowered him to respond. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes this explicit in the verse which opens the 8th chapter of the Madhya Lila. So this is the invocation verse, right, for the chapter. Sancharya Ramabid, sorry, what's the meter for this? Sancharya Ramabida Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Korabdhiretar Amuna Vitirnais Tajgyatvaratna Layatang Prayati. Gauranga is like the ocean of spiritual truths. He fills the cloud named Ramananda with the nectar of the purest conclusions of devotion to himself. Ramananda then rains down that same nectar on the very ocean from which it had come, producing the jewels of the transcendental knowledge. Whoa. The rain just started pouring down outside. Okay. It's kind of funny though, right? When I said Ramananda then rained down that same nectar, all of a sudden it just went outside. All right. A person who has not taken shelter of the Lord may try to understand the supreme truth by using empirical means without achieving any success. Indeed, he will fall into confusion and be unable to understand the words of the Lord. Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to explain to him, with evidence from the scriptures, the ultimate goal of life. Ramananda started his response by explaining that devotion to Vishnu is the ultimate aim of human achievement, or sadhya. He described the progressive path of different practices leading to that theistic goal, starting from the practice of varnashram dharma to offering the fruits of one's activities to Krishna, karma arpana, the renunciation of prescribed duties, karma tyag, and then devotion mixed with knowledge, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, offering the scriptural basis for each step. And I think the articles by Srila Prabhupada that we're going to read tomorrow I think it ends with Gyan Mishra Bhakti, but I haven't actually read them yet. I was just preparing them, but I think I remember seeing that. Anyways. Mahaprabhu rejected each proposal, however, saying that it was superficial or external, for none of these practices had the potential to achieve the pure devotion which he had come to give. By starting this conversation with Ramananda Rai with Varnashram Dharma, Mahaprabhu showed that all activities which ignore the Vedic principles or go against them are to be completely rejected. When responding to each of Ramananda's suggestions, Mahaprabhu did not say, absolutely not. Rather, he used the words eho bahya. This is external. The idea is that one must first give up activities which are outside the scope of the Vedic standard. Once one is fixed in these principles, one can progressively gain the qualifications to proceed through each of the various steps described by Ramananda Rai. This holds true even though bhakti itself is completely independent and may manifest in an individual through the association of saintly persons despite one's having no prior qualifications, not having gone through these prior steps. When Ramananda Rai finally answered Mahaprabhu's question by saying, pure devotional service without any tinge of speculative knowledge, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, is the means to achieve the supreme perfection, Mahaprabhu finally accepted his conclusion. when he mentioned Gyan Shunya Bhakti. Mahaprabhu's teachings actually begin from this point on. The words Gyan Shunyam are meant to completely eradicate any consciousness of the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, but not the kind of knowledge of relationship, the Sambandha Gyan, which is favorable to the attainment of pure devotional service. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, he says, the purport is that sacrificing the results of one's actions is better than merely engaging in one's prescribed duties according to the Varnashram Dharma. The renunciation of fruitive activities is better than simply giving up the fruits. Better than this is the cultivation of knowledge mixed with devotional service. However, despite this progressive improvement in spirituality through these stages, they are all superficial because these four kinds of practices have no power to achieve pure devotion, or Shuddha Bhakti. The devotions known as Arop Siddha, that means, this is an interesting definition, adding a devotional veneer as an afterthought to another action. So the devotions known as Arop Siddha and Sangha Siddha is devotion alloyed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. So Arop Siddha and Sangha Siddha are never to be considered pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is Swarup Siddha Bhakti. That is, it is devotion both in form and in intent. It is entirely and eternally different from these other activities, which have only a superficial relationship to devotional service. The characteristics of Shuddha Bhakti are that it is exclusively executed uniquely for the pleasure of Krishna, devoid of any material desires. It is not hidden by the presence of fruitive intent or identification with Brahman. This is the ultimate goal of spiritual practice, for though it is seen in an aspiring devotee, it is present in its purest form when he reaches the perfection of his practice. That's verse 68 of the same chapter 8. Oh, look, there's the Vigraha of Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai speaking. Yeah, nice. As long as Ramananda Rai suggested anything other than following in the footsteps of the great devotees and listening to Krishna Katha from their lips, Mahaprabhu kept saying, this is external. Therefore, it is to be understood that pure devotion starts from the moment one begins to hear about the activities and teachings of Lord Krishna from the lips of a pure devotee. From this point, Ramananda Rai described the various stages of loving devotion, the moods of neutrality, servitude, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. From there, he went on to describe the supremacy of Radha's love, as well as both Radha's and Krishna's characteristics. Then Mahaprabhu asked questions like, what is the essence of education? And what kind of fame is best for the living being? All these have been extensively described in the 8th chapter of Caitanya Charitamrita's Madhya Lila. In order to avoid abnormal expansion of the account of Ramananda's life, we will not go into these matters any further here. Ramananda's perception of the Lord's identity. The identity of the Lord cannot remain hidden to his devotee. Ramananda was able to recognize the Lord for who he was. He said, "First I saw you as an ordinary sannyasi. Now I see that you are actually a dark-skinned cowherd boy. I see a golden image standing in front of you. Its golden luster covers your entire body." That's verses 268 to 269 of that same chapter 8 of Madhya Lila. Mahaprabhu made an effort to dismiss his identity when he heard this, saying that Rai Ramananda was a great devotee and thus saw Krishna everywhere. Ramananda, however, clearly stated the primary purpose for the Lord's avatar. Mahaprabhu was pleased with his insightful realization and displayed his form as a combination of Rasaraj, the king of the devotional sentiments, Krishna, and the embodiment of Mahabhav, the supreme devotional mood, Srimati Radharani. When he saw this amazing combined form of the Lord, Rāmānanda Rai fell to the ground in a faint. When the Lord touched him, he regained consciousness. Rāmānanda Rai and the Lord remained together blissfully for 10 days before Mahaprabhu continued on his southern pilgrimage. He asked Rāmānanda Rai to abandon his involvement with government service and join him in Puri when he returned. When Mahaprabhu completed his travels in southern India, he met with Rāmānanda Rai once again on the banks of the Godavari. He showed him the two books, Krishna Karnamrita and Brahma Samhita, he had found in his travels, which substantiated all that Rāmānanda Rai had said in the previous conversations. Rāmānanda Rai copied the two manuscripts himself. The Lord remained another week with Rāmānanda Rai, engaging in the pleasures of discussions about Krishna before heading back to Nilachal. When Mahaprabhu expressed his desire to take Rāmānanda Rai along with him to Puri, he declined to go with the Lord immediately, as he was obliged to wait for the king's permission and also would need to take care of other official affairs. He promised to join the Lord in Puri as soon as he was able. Rāmānanda comes to Puri. When the Lord arrived in Puri, he made his permanent residence in the house of Kashi Mishra. King Prataparudra had heard about the Lord and was very enthusiastic about meeting him. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had assured him that once the Lord had returned from his southern pilgrimage, he would somehow or other arrange for him to have his darshan. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya tried to convince him, the Lord insisted that he would not look upon a king. Thus, all attempts to arrange a meeting met with failure. When the king heard that Rāmānanda Rai wished to return to Puri in order to be close to Mahaprabhu, he was quite happy to grant him permission. He allowed him to leave his duties in the government and continue to pay him his pension. Thus, Rāmānanda Rai first met with the king in Cuttack, and then in Puri, before going to Kashi Mishra's home to meet with the Lord. Rāmānanda Rai knew just how eager the king was to encounter Mahaprabhu. But rather than bringing up the matter directly, he simply glorified the king, telling Mahaprabhu how much faith he had in him, how deep was his devotion to Krishna, and how kind he had been to free Rāmānanda Rai from his governmental duties so that he could serve the Lord directly. By recounting the king's virtues in this way, he was able to soften the Lord's resolve. In time, Nityananda Prabhu had sent one of the Lord's Bahirvasas, one of the Lord's outer garments, to the king Prataparudra as a consolation. Though this gave the king a great deal of joy, his desire to meet the Lord simply increased, and he asked Rāmānanda Rai to intercede on his behalf and make some kind of arrangement. When Rāmānanda Rai finally approached the Lord directly, asking him to be compassionate toward the king, the Lord was not able to refuse him directly. He agreed that the king was no ordinary materialistic person, but nevertheless, the very title Raja was a type of contamination that he could not overlook. So he agreed to allow the king's son to come and see him, as the son and father are one, in a sense. Mahaprabhu said, "The king certainly possesses all good qualities, but everything has been ruined simply by his possession of the kingly title. If you are still very eager for the king to meet with me, you can bring me his son. You can bring his son in his place. The scripture states that one's self extends to the son. Therefore, if his son comes, it will be equal to his meeting with me." Rāmānanda Rai then went to inform the king about his talks with the Lord, and according to his request, brought the king's son to him to see him. That's from Madhya Lila chapter 12, verses 53 to 57. Appreciating Rupa's place. Rupa Manjari is the follower of the Sakis Lalita and Vishakha, who are not different from Rāmānanda Rai. Rupa Goswami discussed the subject of his two plays, Lalit Madhav and Vidagdha Madhav, with Rāmānanda Rai. When Rāmānanda Rai asked to hear about the Lord's worshipable deity, Rupa Goswami recited the second verse of the first act, the play's Mangalacharan. It goes, "Anarpita charim chirat karunaya avatirna kalo samarpaitum unattojvala rasangsa bhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare spuratu va shachinandanaha. May the Supreme Lord, who is the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, be always situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. He has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow that which was never offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the treasure of devotion to him. When Ramananda Rai heard this verse, he began to praise Rupa Goswami with what seemed like 1,000 tongues. He said that Rupa Goswami could only have written such an accurate portrayal of such difficult concepts as a result of the Lord's mercy. And the 3 articles that we're going to read by Srila Prabhupada tomorrow are based on these words right here. Karunaya avatirna kalo. Going to read 3 articles on this topic by Srila Prabhupada. When Ramananda Rai heard this verse, he began to praise Rupa Goswami with what? Oh, sorry, I just read that. Okay. Pradyumna Mishra meets Ramananda. In order to reveal the extent of Ramananda Rai's transcendental character and identity, Mahaprabhu sent Pradyumna Mishra, who was born in an upper-class Brahmin family, to Ramananda Rai to be instructed, even though Ramananda Rai was not of such high caste. Pradyumna Mishra was born in Sylhet, but later made his permanent home in Orissa. He came one day to Mahaprabhu asking to hear some Katha, and Mahaprabhu sent him to meet Ramananda Rai. At that time, Ramananda Rai was in the Jagannath Ballabha gardens, engaged in preparing 2 young Devadasis for a play which was to be given before Lord Jagannath. He was engaged in bathing, dressing, and decorating them, and training them in the songs that they would sing and the dance they would perform. The first time that Pradyumna Mishra came to see Ramananda Rai, one of his servants told him that he was busy doing this work and asked Mishra to sit outside and wait. None of Ramananda Rai's servants dared to interrupt him while he was busy preparing the performance, which was to be given before Lord Jagannath. Only after he had finished the rehearsal and come outside did he learn that Pradyumna Mishra had come there to hear about Krishna from him. Ramananda Rai showed the Brahmin the appropriate respect and begged forgiveness for the long delay. Mishra realized that it was too late that day for his wish to be fulfilled, and he returned home. Some days later, when Mahaprabhu saw Mishra, he asked him how the meeting with Ramananda Rai had gone and what topics they had discussed. Pradyumna Mishra told him everything that had happened and told the Lord that some doubts has risen in his mind about Ramananda Rai's activities. The Lord immediately took steps to erase these doubts from the Brahman's mind, and he began to glorify Ramananda Rai's extraordinary character with great force. And we know how strict Mahaprabhu is when it comes to these matters of, the opposite sex. Like we hear the story of Chota Haridas. That's like extreme. And Chota Haridas only went to beg alms from Madhavi Devi, right? That's what I remember at least. And so, but now Mahaprabhu is saying, I am a sannyasi and consider myself to be renounced. But if I even hear the name of a woman, what to speak of seeing one, I feel an effect on my mind and body. So who is not moved by the sight of a woman? Listen to me, everyone. Let me tell you about Ramananda Rai's activities, even though they are so wonderful and uncommon that they really cannot be properly described. He personally serves Lord Jagannath's young and beautiful Devdasis in every possible way. He personally bathes and dresses them and decorates them with ornaments. While doing so, he naturally sees and touches their bodies. But even so, his mind is never affected. He teaches the girls how to physically express all the moods of love so that they can act them out before Lord Jagannath Dev. But his mind and body are as steady as wood or stone. Indeed, it is amazing that even when he touches such young girls, his mind is not disturbed. Only Ramananda has the right to do such things. And when I see him do them, I can understand that his body is not material, but has been completely transformed into a spiritual entity. It's from the Antya Lila, chapter 5, verses 35 to 42. Mahaprabhu thus revealed Ramananda Rai's amazing powers to Pradyumna Mishra, and through him to the world. He told Pradyumna that he himself went to Ramananda Rai to hear about Krishna, and advised him to go a second time. This time, Pradyumna was able to hear Ramananda Rai speak about Krishna in such depth and with such insight that he was astonished. So astonished, in fact, that he began to dance in ecstasy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written the following comment on the above pastime. Ramananda had composed a play known as Jagannath Vallabha Natak. This play was performed in the Jagannath temple for Jagannath's pleasure. Rai Ramananda trained two Devadasi girls, or virgins of God. In Orissa, they are now called Mahārājas. So he taught these two Devadasi girls on how to play the emotions appropriate to the gopis in his drama. Since the two Devadasis were playing the roles of chief gopis, Ramananda Rai made no distinction between them and Krishna's beloved mistresses. He considered himself to be their maidservant, and in that spiritual identity, engaged in their service by teaching them to dance and sing for their Lord. Because Ramananda Rai knew himself to be one of Srimati Radharani's handmaidens, he was able to project the identity of his worshipable mistress on the two Devadasis. And this is why he was able to serve them in this most intimate fashion without experiencing the disturbance of mundane desire. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Amrita Pravaha Bhashya for Antya Lila, chapter 5, verse 20. And now here's a quote from same chapter, chapter 5 of the Antya Lila, verses 88 to 85. Though a householder, Ramananda Rai is not under the control of the 6 deadly sins: lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and malice. Though a so-called materialistic person, he is qualified to instruct those in the renounced order of life. The Lord wished to reveal these qualities of Ramananda Rai, and so he sent Pradyumna Mishra to listen to him speak about Krishna. The Lord knows very well how to make his devotees' virtues public. He considers it to be his personal profit to do so by using various strategies. O devotees, listen carefully to yet another of the Lord's characteristics. He manifests his own majestic nature, though this is usually hidden. He spreads real religious principles through a man from the lowly Shudra class in order to vanquish the false pride of so-called renunciants and learned scholars. He preached about devotional service, ecstatic love, and the absolute truth by making Ramananda Rai, a grihasta born in a low family, the speaker, while he himself, an exalted Brahmin sannyasi, and Pradyumna Mishra, a pure Brahmin, both listened and took lessons from him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada comments on these words from the Caitanya Charitamrita as follows. To materialistic vision, Ramananda Rai is a grihasta on the pravritti marg, engaged in an active life in the world, and not a self-controlled brahmachari, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. A materialistic householder is under the control of his senses, and this is the basis of his involvement in worldly activities. A Vaishnav householder who has attained the transcendental state, however, is not at all on the same level, transcending the influences of the 6 deadly sins aloof from the influence of the senses. Ramananda Prabhu accepted the householder state as his role in the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Ordinary materialistic persons look upon him from a perspective that is tinted by their own desire for sense gratification, and thus consider him to be of their own. But in fact, his mind had been totally spiritualized through being fixed on the supreme worshipable object. He was thus a Krishna Vishaya, or one who seeks only the pleasure of Krishna's senses and not his own. He was not an impersonalist or argumentative nihilist opposed to the Lord's transcendental activities. Indeed, he possessed the power to transform the minds of such sannyasis who had abandoned sense gratification and were absorbed in the undifferentiated Brahman without any appreciation for Krishna's form and pastimes, and turned them away from their fundamentally materialistic conception of transcendence, attracting them to the practice of devotional service through hearing and chanting about Krishna's name, form, and qualities. Okay, there's 3 minutes left in this chapter, it says. So, other activities in Puri. When Ballabha came to Puri and into contact with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord kept his own glories hidden from him because he knew him to be proud of his learning, Ballabha. He thus preferred to speak to Ballabha about the qualifications of his entourage. At that time, he said of Ramananda Rai that he was expert both in the sambandha, or the knowledge of the relationships between God and the living entities, and the prayojan tattva, or knowledge of the highest goal of life. Furthermore, he indicated that he was the greatest connoisseur of the pure and sacred raptures of Vrindavan. So this is chapter 7, verse 23 and 37 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Antya-lila, right? Yeah. Ramananda Rai is the treasure house of divine sentiments. It was he who disclosed to me that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one can fully describe the extent of Ramananda's spiritual power. Through him, I was able to learn about the pure moods of the devotees of Braj. And now here's the previous chapter, chapter 6 of Antya-lila, verse 9. Ramananda Rai had the same type of relationship with Mahaprabhu that Subal, Krishna's friend and helper, used to have in Braj. Wow, that's interesting. Verse Ramananda Rai was also present in Nilachal when Haridas Thakur passed away. Mahaprabhu praised Haridas Thakur before the devotees, led by Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That's chapter 11 of Antya-lila, verse 50. Ramananda during the Lord's separation pangs. When Mahaprabhu spent most of his time in a condition of divine ecstatic madness, he would sometimes disappear from his chambers, even though there were 3 barred doors through which he had to pass in order to go outside. Once, he was found near the lion's gate, his joints loosened and taking on a giant distended form. He was revived and returned to normal by the loud singing of the holy names. On another occasion, he was found in the Chatak Parvat, which he had taken in a state of trance to be Govardhan. Once again, he had to be pacified by Sankirtan and returned to his home. On these occasions, Ramananda Rai was present with Swarup Damodar. Throughout the 10 transformations of the Lord's ecstatic madness, Divyonmad, Ramananda Rai would recite verses that fit the Lord's emotional state. In this way, he brought Mahaprabhu pleasure. Now here's a quote from 6th chapter of Antya-lila, verse 6. When the Lord acutely felt pangs of separation from Krishna, only Śrī Rāya Rāmānanda Rai's talks about Krishna and the sweet songs of Swarup Damodar kept him alive. Now here is chapter 15 of Antya-lila, verses 24 to 27. It says, the Lord took Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai by the shoulders and said, listen, Swarup and Ramananda and Ram Rai. tell me what I should do. Where should I go in order to find Krishna? You can tell me the best thing to do." In this way, Gauranga would tell his tale of woe to Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, and they would console him in his grief. Swarup would sing, and Ramananda would recite Sanskrit verses, giving joy to the Lord with poems from Krishna Karnamrita, the songs of Vidyapati, and Gita Govinda. Now, here's a quote from Madhya Lila, chapter 2, verse 77. Remaining in the company of Swarup and Ramananda, both day and night, Mahaprabhu ecstatically relished the songs of Chandidas and Vidyapati and Rai's plays, as well as Krishna Karnamrita and Gita Govinda. Ramananda Rai performed his bhajan in the Jagannath Vallabha garden, a place that was very dear to Mahaprabhu also. As soon as the Lord entered this garden, he would be overwhelmed by feelings of divine love. One day, while the Lord was there, he had a vision of Krishna under an ashok tree. Then the same vision was suddenly lost to him, and Mahaprabhu fell to the ground in a faint. And now here's Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila, chapter 19, verses 79 to 80. It says, "The main park in Puri is the Jagannath Vallabha garden. The Lord entered there with his devotees. The trees and flower bushes were in bloom, and it seemed as though it was Vrindavan. The parrots, Meena birds, I don't know, and cuckoos were singing their songs, and the bees were all buzzing. Wandering through the garden, he went from tree to tree. When he came to an ashok tree, he suddenly saw Krishna standing there. The Lord started to run towards him, but Krishna laughed at him and disappeared. The Lord was stunned. He had found Krishna and then had lost him again. He lost consciousness and fell to the ground." Through Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu joyfully announced to the world that Harinam Sankirtan is the best means to attain love of God in this age of quarrel. The Lord, in a wave of jubilation, said, "Listen, Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, in the age of Kali, Harinam Sankirtan is the supreme means of deliverance." Oh God, I know this verse. Harshe, shoot. Parama Upai. Kalo Harinam Sankirtan. I can't remember. Anyways, during Kartik one year, we sang most like the first half of chapter 20 of Antya-lila every day. So there are two opinions about Ramananda Rai's disappearance day. Some people say Jeshta Krishna Panchami, and others say Vaishak Krishna Panchami. Are we in Jeshta now? I think so. Because wasn't it just Vaishak Purnima? Or is that, anyways, might be Vaishak. I can't remember. I should know that. Anyhow. All right. So it is 8:03, 8:04 now. It just turned 8:04. So I will just we can end by singing Kalayati Nayanam, and then that will be our program for today. Okay, so let me first turn off noise suppression. All right, and I'm going to, wait, did it work? Yes, okay. So now I'll open up the songbook. Okay. I don't have a mridanga or anything, so just have to sing like this. I'll just have to clap my hands. Actually, I'm gonna hold my mic, so I'll just sing it. Akalayate nayana deshe deshe valita pankajamiva mridu maruta chalitam kalayate nayanam deshe deshe valitam pankajamiva mridu maruta chalitam kele vipinam pravishate radha kele vipinam pravishate radha pratipara samodita manase japada apratipada samodita manase japada kalayati nayana deshe deshe valitam pankajamiva mritu maruta chalitam vinidadati mridu amantara padam vinidadati mridu amantara padam. Sorry. Rachayati kunjara gatimanuvalam rachayati kunjara gatimanuvalam kalayati nayanam deshe deshe valitam pankajamiva mridu maruta chalitam janayati rudra gajadipamoditam janayati rudra gajadipamoditam Rāmānanda Rāya kavi kaditam Rāmānanda Rāya kavi kaditam kalayati nayanam deshe deshe valitam pankajamiva mritu maruta chalitam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Oh Jaya Lalita Devi, Jaya Vishaka Devi, Lalita Devi, Jaya Vishaka Devi. Oh Jaya Rāya Rāmānanda, Jaya Rāya Rāmānanda, Rāya Rāmānanda, Jaya Rāya Rāmānanda, Jai Swarup Damodar, Jai Swarup Damodar, Swarup Damodar, Jaya Swarup Damodar, Jaya Swaparshara Gora Hare, Swaparshara Jai Gora Hare, Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Śrī Rāya Rāmānanda ki Jai, Jai Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Jai Śrī Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai, Jai Śrī Rasaraj Mahabhav Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Param Gurudev ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai, Śrī Rupam Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Mahārāj ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vranda Devi ki Jai, Jai Shri Swarup Damodar Rāya Rāmānanda, Jai Shiki Mahiri Madhavi Devi ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Hari ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Ramananda Rai ki Jai. To dear Shubha Tirubhav Titi Adivas, no, Tirubhav Adivas Titi ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Jai Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Mahārāj ki Jai, his book Śrī Caitanya and his associates ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashicha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna. Just looking at the comments. Oh, do you want to see the storm so far? It's pretty intense. I mean, it's still quite a ways away. It's I think right now Cyclone Remani is in. It hasn't even reached Kolkata. It's still just from the map I saw. But let's see. Here's. Was a lot heavier just a little while ago, but yep, it's so I think, yeah, we might not be able to do the Sharanagati recording. My God, it's been 3 days in a row. We'll see, but I think it's probably at the pace it's going at now. I'm guessing that it's going to be going on all day, and it's probably going to be a lot worse tonight when it's actually hits us. So anyhow, yeah, thank you so much for joining. Let me just quickly look at the comments and see. There's lots of comments. Let's see. yeah, so as I mentioned, it's still away, like quite a distance away, but yeah, it will be very intense, I think. I mean, I'm in a very big, like very nice building, so there's no worries. But for the people in my village who are in these tin houses, I'm worried for them. Oh my God. Okay, I'm checking on YouTube and Facebook. Like just right next to us, it's like they're very poor and they're mostly in tin sheds, so they probably have. Hari Bol Indira Mataji. Hare Krishna. And I see there are 5 other devotees watching on YouTube and Facebook. So Dandavat pranams to all of you. I don't see your names because you didn't write comments, but pranams to you. And let's see who's here on Zoom. Hare Krishna, Sarveshwari Mataji, Ashray Prabhu, Champak Mataji, Manjulali Didi, Sri Devi Didi, Rukmini Didi, Krishna Mai Didi, Archana Didi, Nuri Hari Prabhu, and Pavatarini Mataji, Anjali Didi, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, and Shruti Gorangadasi. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams to all of you. So, let's see. I mean, I think everything will be back to normal by tomorrow morning. If it isn't, then we won't be able to have our Raise to the Harmonist session to read through all those articles, but hopefully everything will be back to normal again by that time. But yeah, yesterday I went at 6 p.m. to go back to Navadvip, and everything was closed, and they said that all the boats had stopped from the morning time, and today all day the boats won't run, and hopefully tomorrow the boats will run and I'll be back home. But otherwise I'm fine being stuck in Mayapur. It's not a bad place to be stuck in. So, all right, Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. See you all hopefully tomorrow.